Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Woollentwine Fibrestudio knitting podcast. My name is Jule. I'm the dyer and owner of Woollentwine Fibrestudio, and I do natural dyeing and natural fiber processing, and I do sell naturally dyed yarns that have been produced in a sustainable manner in my online shop. And yeah, I decided to start a podcast because I feel like I want to share more about what I'm doing and more behind the scenes material, and connect more with the community that I'm in. And yeah, I feel like describing things on Instagram and writing things down and telling you what I'm doing in a written form is not really enough, and I really can't tell all the stories that are behind everything I do. And yeah, so I decided to dip my toes into the water and start a podcast. Let's see how this is going. I'm doing this for the very first time, so I'm sorry if there's anything a bit unprofessional or rusty or not really in the most professional way it could be, but yeah, let's see. If I enjoy this and I feel like putting my face out on YouTube a couple of times more, then I could also step up my equipment and everything, but for now that'll do, and I hope you'll bear with me and it will be okay for you. Yeah. What do I do? I mean, I think I should talk about what I'm doing in my business a bit more, because this is basically the core of everything I do, and I will of course share things about my business and bases coming to the shop and limited edition yarns I'm producing, and basically the whole ship to yarn story that I'm processing sometimes. So the core of what I do basically is the belief in sustainable crafting and plastic-free crafting, and using natural products in a way that you don't waste anything, and yeah, basically use it with a lot of respect for nature. And that's what I'm doing with my business, but that's also what I'm doing in my own knitting products. Yeah, so sustainability and natural fibers, natural products will make a big part of this podcast. So yeah, you won't see me using superwash yarns or anything plasticky in this podcast ever. Yeah, so just a quick disclaimer so you know where you're at. And yeah, I think I want to start off with a pretty basic or classic way of podcasting and showing you my knitting before I continue talking about other things. And yes, let's see how this is going. Okay, let's start out with some FOs. I mean, this is my first episode, so I won't share everything I've ever knitted with you, but let's say I'll show you my most recent finished objects that I've cast off in January. So yeah. The first thing I want to show to you is actually a hat, which is very unusual for me because I don't usually wear hats. I prefer headbands because I have quite a lot of hair, and most hats don't really fit me that well, and I don't actually need them because it never gets cold enough to wear them here. But this year was very different, and we had a sudden temperature drop in January and February, and it was yeah, very cold temperatures and -degrees, and so I decided I will need a hat. So this is the hat that I've made, and it's knitted out of my Masham DK yarn, which is actually a blend of blue-faced Leicester sheep and mid-brown Masham, so it has a naturally brown or greyish undertone. And I naturally dyed this one in my colorway Lavender, and I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I mean, this colorway is really versatile. You can wear it with a lot of colors, I feel, and the fit is also very great. The pattern of this one is the Marta Beanie by Vanessa Pellisa, who kindly gifted me this after I've did a little poll on Instagram, like, please shoot me with your favorite classic ribbed hats, because there were so many I couldn't decide. And then Vanessa reached out and was like, I just designed one, so do you want to have it? And she just sent it to me, so yeah, I knitted the Marta Beanie and I'm very pleased. It's a 1x1 twisted rib all around, and then it has this beautiful spiral crown at the top, and yeah, it fits very nicely, especially for my head. This can be a little bit difficult because I have quite a big head and as said, a lot of hair, so most hats don't really fit me, but this one is really great and I'm very pleased and I'm wearing it a lot. The next FO is not technically an FO actually, because I haven't sewn buttons on it yet, which I will do very soon. I just have to decide on the size and I couldn't do it yet. But I will show you anyway. It's a cardigan and will be difficult to show because it's very long and very big. Yeah, so, but I will try. This is it. It's very long, as you can see. This is the Andy cardigan by Junko Okamoto. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if I pronounce this correctly. But it's a very basic raglan construction with quite thick yarn, and even though it's very generous in size, it was a fairly quick knit. I mean, it's knit on 5.5mm needles and it's very warm. I knitted this one out of a limited edition yarn by Gregoria fibers that I think she put out in 2019 or something. She got that produced at a local, not a local, but a small mill, a family mill, and got it produced from French Bizet sheep. And this is basically undyed, so she didn't dye this, but she had a limited edition or a limited quantity of these skeins in her shop. And I got a lot now and wasn't really sure how to use it up because it was so much. And then I had the idea that I wanted to knit a cardigan that's basically unisex, so me and my partner could share it, because our flat is quite cold, especially with the temperatures we have here now, and he gets quite cold as well, and he's working from home at the moment. So I wanted to knit something that he and I could both wear, and so I decided on the Andy because it has a one size fits most kind of sizing, and it's very generously oversized, so it's very easy for me and my partner both to fit into this. And yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out, and I will make sure to share some more pictures of this when I actually wear it, or just take some more proper pictures because it's difficult to show in a video podcast because of its size. Yeah, but I'll make sure to sew on some buttons. The only thing I have to do is decide on the size, because I have these very gorgeous buttons here. I have to show you. they are wooden buttons, and they are made by the mother of a friend of mine who actually likes to work with wood and makes these herself. They are really beautiful. She gets the wood from her own garden and then she cuts them and makes buttons. So yeah, I'm still not sure if I can fit the larger size on the Andy because it has quite a couple of them, quite a couple of buttons on the button band, so I might go for the smaller one, but can't decide yet. But these are really glorious and I will, of course, use them all at some point. Yeah, so that's all the FOs I have to share for this episode. It's not much, but basically because I've been knitting on one of my whips for quite a while in January, because it's very big, and yeah, I didn't really knit too much in January because it was a very strange month for me. Usually I feel like January gives me this kind of let's go for a new start feeling, and it makes me feel very motivated and yeah, encouraged to do all the things I want to do. But this year it was really strange. I don't know what it was, but I didn't really feel like doing something new, casting on something new, so there isn't too much that has happened in January knit-wise. But I'll show you my works in progress in a minute. So, on to works in progress. I've been working on this one project for quite a while. I think I've cast on sometime in the fall of 2020, and it's a huge thing, so I don't know if I can show this either. Like the Andy cardigan, it might be a little bit difficult, but I'll try and show you. This is actually a cardigan as well, and it's not done yet. It still needs the button band, but the sleeves are done and I'm halfway into the ribbing, I would say. And what made me do this, make it really big and really fluffy, was the yarn, because I had the most wonderful yarn and I decided I wanted a really big and very versatile cardigan. So I actually made up the pattern myself, so there is no real pattern. I just tried to like mimic a cardigan that I used to own, or that I still own but not wear it that much because it's very old. And I was waiting for the perfect yarn to do this because I've been looking for a very warm, deep, dark, almost black yarn. And then Lerke of Fibertales, who's a dear friend of mine, put out her absolutely gorgeous Gotland yarn that she got spun from her parents' sheep. And yeah, as soon as I heard of it and I saw the charcoal colorway, I was like, this is the yarn I'm going to make this cardigan with. And yeah, she kindly reserved a couple of skeins for me, and I actually picked them up myself when I was visiting her last year in summer. And yeah, up until fall I couldn't really get myself into knitting this kind of project because I knew it's going to be too warm for me to work on this. But yeah, I cast this one on and it was hibernating for a while because I needed a couple of palette cleansing smaller projects in between. But now I've picked it up again in January when it was really dark and cold and I really wanted this one to wear this one. Yeah, and now I'm actually really pushing it to the end, and I think I might even finish the ribbing today, so I can, there's only the button band left, and yeah, I'm really excited to wear this one. I think Lerke is going to have more yarn sometime in the future, and if you haven't tried it yet, I can only recommend this. I think it has become one of my actually all-time favorite yarns. It's I wouldn't say it's soft, it's soft, yeah, but it's not itchy or anything, but it has a very sleek feel to it, but at the same time it really gets this nice halo. I don't know if you can see that, but the more you work with it, the more of a halo comes through, and I can already tell this is going to be the warmest thing I'll wear ever, which is also why I made it in this very generous size, because I wanted to be able to layer it over everything. This is the size of the sleeve, so it's very, very generously sized. Yeah, and I cannot wait to finish this one. Maybe within the next week. Let's see where I'm at when I record the next episode. Yeah. Oh, I have another skein of the yarn. This is the last one I have. This is what I will use for the button band. And look at the gorgeous little logo lacquer made. It's actually really pretty. And yeah, I can only recommend trying to get your hands on some of Lacquer's Gotland yarn whenever she gets a new one. The next whip I want to show you is quite a bit smaller than the other one, and these are socks actually. This is a very new to me yarn. It's called Snowdonia, and it's a non-superwash sock yarn from the great people at Garthenor. It's a mix, I think, of Romney and Hebridean sheep, and they have a lot of different shades of grey, depending on how much Hebridean sheep is mixed in, because Hebridean sheep, as far as I know, are mostly black and Romney are usually white, so the more Hebridean is mixed into the Romney, the darker grey it gets. And these are probably the best fitting socks I've ever made. They are for my partner, by the way, that's why they have such a big size. I've knitted them double-stranded on, I think, 2.75mm needles. So it's more of a sport weight sock inspired by the great Lindsay of A Wooden Nest. She used to make all the pairs of sport weight socks and talked about them in her podcast, and I was really inspired and needed a quick, easy knit that I didn't have to think about much. So I cast these on and I'm more than happy. It's the fabric is really dense, but it fits very snugly on the feet and it's super nice. So now I'm just waiting for the second sock. Unfortunately, 100 grams of the Snowdonia in that colorway weren't enough. And I didn't really feel like a contrasting toe with this colorway, so I had to order more, and it's still somewhere in transit because of all the customs Brexit stuff, I think. So yeah, once the yarn will arrive here, I will continue knitting these, and finally my partner will have a pair of new socks. So the next whip I wanted to share with you is something very out of my comfort zone, because as you probably saw from my last project, I'm a very neutral loving person. I don't really wear a lot of colors, or at least not very colorful colors. And yeah, so the next whip might look a little bit surprising, but I really enjoy it. This is the Rufusshawl. It's a pattern that was designed by Vanessa Pellisa for the Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company Advent calendar of last year. and I actually got the mini version of that, and yeah, I was wondering what to do with 12 different Miniskeins, because I don't think I will ever need that many socks with contrasting toes and heel. So yeah, when I saw that pattern, I somehow was strangely drawn towards making a multicolored knit, which is very, very, very uncommon for me. But yeah, I really enjoy this. It looks kind of not complicated, but it looks like you can't really do mindless knitting all the time, but it actually is kind of mindless, because once you get a hang of the chevron pattern, it's basically done with slip stitches, so it's not very difficult to work, and it looks very scrunched up here right now, but I think it will be better after blocking. So yeah, I really enjoy this. I actually had all of the colors and the repeats planned out very organizedly, but then I just decided to do them randomly and look what feels good and what looks nice, color after color, and yeah, now I just went with it, and it's very random. And oh, one thing I should tell you, the Miniskeins are all woolly mammoth fibers, and Emma dyed these very cohesively, I feel like. I mean, it's not that there's one color that really stands out. It's all very, you can combine them all very well. And I needed a base color, and I didn't want to use a natural white because I felt like that's too much of a contrast. And so I dyed up the skein of my Corriedale Sock base, which actually has kind of a similar feel to Emma's natural sock. And I just dyed that up to use it as a main color, and I'm really happy how these work together actually. Oh, and I'm using my very favorite stitch markers. I don't own a lot, so it's not it sounds like I've been using so many stitch markers and I can say these are my favorite. These basically are my only bigger ones. And they are from Emma's Knits. She's the German knitter as well, and she makes these very beautiful little stitch markers, and I really like them. So this is the Rufusshawl, and by the way, that name is inspired by Emma's dog, who's called Rufus, and I'm sure you know her podcast, but he's really cute. And yeah, I'm really happy how this is turning out so far. I will pause on this a little bit because I have some projects that I'm really excited to cast on, so this one might need a little bit of a wait until I continue on this. But I think there's also a knit along to be run very soon by Vanessa and Emma. I have to check on that, but I'm sure you can find info on Instagram or Ravelry or anything. Yeah, I think we're already on onto the last work in progress that I am having right now, and that is a hat again. Sorry, I have to reach down here, but there's my project basket here. I cast this on quite impulsively because my boyfriend has requested a hat, and I had this skein of, don't quote me on that, but Græsgarn by Hjelholt Uldspinderi, and it's very nice and plump yarn and non-superwash, of course. And yeah, I had this skein in my stash, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to knit your worsted weight hat because that's the quickest I can do, and he really wanted it to have it now when it's cold, so I have to hurry. But this pattern, it looks a bit scrunched up right now, but it's going to stretch a lot. The pattern is the Best Beanie by James and Watts, and yeah, it's very nice because it's just a super simple hat. I think the original pattern is really short, just like above the ear. I think I'll make it a little bit longer so he can cover his ears. I will just see how much yarn I have and then base it on that, so he can also fold the brim over, so it will be kind of adjustable. But yeah, I think I will make it a little bit longer than the pattern intends, I guess, just so his ears can be warm in these crazy temperatures we have here right now. Yeah, I think the whip section is coming to an end, but I have more to show you that I have acquired in the last time, and yeah, let's do that next. So, the next section is acquisitions, new yarns or new acquisitions I've made in the last couple of weeks and what I think of them. I try to bust through my stash a little bit these days, and I have some projects planned that are going to be stash knitting, just so I can fit it all into my small yarn cabinet, because there's not a lot of space in there, and I'm planning to get a couple of things in March, and so yeah, I just need to make a little bit of space. But some things I couldn't resist getting in the last couple of weeks. One of them being a yarn actually, that has been so popular over this little bubble of the internet that I'm in during the last couple of months, and I was kind of resisting the hype, not really resisting, but I was like, what's this all about? Is it really that great? Why do people love this so much? Is it that special? And yeah, then I had to try it, and I have to admit it is that special. I got my hands on some Nutiden yarn from Höner Caroline, basically. Caroline and Knut and Annika, as far as I know, are producing these unspun yarns. I don't know how much to tell about this, because I feel like every podcaster has talked about this great yarn by now. But I can tell that all the miracles floating around this yarn are true. I was kind of hesitant getting it, because I felt like, oh, I have so much yarn, and especially in these kind of neutral colorways, I had so much yarn. But then I somehow wanted to try it as well, and I got sweater quantities of these two colorways that were in the last update, and I have to say there's something special about this yarn. It smells really nice, and it's I mean, there are different kind of feels to the different colorways, because I think some of them are dyed and some of them are undyed, and depending on if they are dyed or not, they feel kind of different. Plus I think they combine different fibers in different colorways, so yeah, it's very, you can see this one has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this one has a lot of Gotland fibers in it as well, and it has these little hairs that I can see will produce a halo like in the other Gotland yarn that I've shown you before. While this one is significantly thinner and yeah, a bit fluffier, and it feels a bit different basically. And yeah, what I really like about this yarn and how it's made is that there is as much lanolin left in it as it can be. I really appreciate that, because I feel like lanolin is one of the great products she provides us with, and so some people prefer it to be washed out completely, because of course it smells like sheep a bit, and it's the natural grease of the sheep's wool. But that's also what keeps you warm. So whenever you knit something out of a yarn that still has a higher content of lanolin in it, it's really water repellent and also very warm. So yeah, I know some people can be allergic to lanolin, if I'm not mistaken. And so I do understand if you don't want too much of it in a finished yarn, but I personally appreciate it really much, and I like when I feel my hands are getting a bit softer when I'm working with a high lanolin content in a yarn. And so when I got my hands on these, I was like, this is all I've ever wanted in a yarn. And yeah, now I know what everyone was talking about. Yeah, I was so obsessed. I was looking at Ravelry because I really love the natural colors of these two, but I've also been wanting to knit the Yohira shawl by, oh god, I forgot the name of the designer. I will write it down. But there's a shawl designed in the Nutiden yarn, and it's very nice, and I felt like I could use something a little more colorful, just so I could pair it with all of my other very neutral clothes. So I was really lucky because a fellow dyer from Berlin, her name is Nora, and she had some Nutiden in her stash that she wanted to give to someone else. And so I also got these 3 plates of this colorway. I think it's called August, if I'm not wrong. And I really like that it's still kind of a neutral, but it has a little bit of pink and yellow tones, and also some turquoise, if I'm not seeing this wrongly. And I really like that, and I think if you use 2 strands, the colors will mar together even more. So yeah, I decided, or I asked her if I could get them from her, and yeah, so now I have more Nutiden to try out. And after all these cardigans I've knit in the last couple of weeks, I think I will try and cast on the Yohira shawl with this next. I'm really excited. I think I will swatch later today, maybe after I finish the ribbing of my cardigan, as a little treat. And I will definitely let you know how it feels and how the swatch looks like. So yeah. I have another acquisition that's not yarn, so we're kind of going over to spinning content now, so if you're not really into that, then maybe just forward to the last section of the podcast. But if you're into spinning, I want to introduce a maker to you that I think you will all really love. And I've been looking into naturally dyed and basically naturally colored, not only dyed but also natural sheepy colors, spinning fiber, because I feel like there are not many dyers out there that are producing spinning fibers. And so I did a little bit of a research, and I wanted to also find someone who might be EU or even Germany based. And I'm really happy to tell you that I found someone, and she makes the most gorgeous, very natural spinning fibers. This is a bat I got from her. It's a mixture of different sheep breeds. It's actually huge, and I got 3 of these. It's a mix of different sheep breeds, and one of them being Hebridean, one of them being a Scottish blackface, and some local German breeds such as Coburger Fuchsschaf, Rhönschaf and Rauwolliges Pommernschaf. And yeah, what can I say about this? First of all, her Instagram name is Esther Constanze. I will put her or link her below or somewhere if I figure out how to do this. And she wants to contribute to introducing people to natural fibers, basically. So she processes these wools all on her own. She washes them, she dyes them, and she cards them, mostly by hand, I think. And she tries to keep the lanolin content as high as possible in these. And so when you touch these, you will feel the kind of very rich, it's not greasy or sticky or anything, but you will feel the kind of tackiness to the fiber. And I have a feeling that it's going to be amazing when you spin it up, because it will condition your hands while you're working with this, probably. Okay, sorry. I was cut off by a beeping dishwasher and had to shut that off. Yeah, what was I saying? I think I was talking about Esther and her work, and yeah, I haven't spun with her bats yet, but I will do that probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks when I have time. And I'm really looking forward to work with her wool, because I feel like this is, not only is this the perfect color scheme for me, like the very subtle, slightly colored ones, but also I really like the approach of keeping the product as natural as it can be, and yeah, I'm looking forward to work with this. And speaking of spinning fibers, I want to tease you a little bit and tell you that there might be coming some spinning fibers to my own shop at some point. I will have to do a little bit of a testing process, but because I wouldn't consider myself as an expert spinner yet, and I feel like I haven't had enough experience to really do my own quality control. So I will work with a couple of awesome makers who volunteer to test spin for me. And that will probably take a couple of weeks still until I'm done with that. But I will keep you updated on the podcast maybe. So the last thing I want to talk about is what will be in the next shop update, because this update is going to be a really big one. I've been trying to push the limits a little bit and really dye up a lot of some of my well-selling all-time favorite colorways, but also a couple of new ones. Also I've been dyeing on the last batch of my first limited edition that was available, or is available, but it's the last batch. Yeah, so if you've been thinking about getting your hands on some of my limited edition, that now's the time, because it will be gone after this last update, and I don't think I will get it spun up again like this, or if I can't. Not that I wouldn't do it, but I can't. So yeah, now's the time. Maybe to everyone who doesn't know about this base, I can tell a little bit more about it. It's the first yarn that I've got spun up custom for my shop, and it's from a local flock of Rhönschaf, which is a really local breed here. And this flock in particular is not only very close to where I live, but also has a very great purpose, I think, because these sheep are grazing on the so-called dikes that are around the city to protect the city from flooding from a big stream that we have here. And so these sheep are actually neither kept for their wool or their meat or anything, but they are basically kept to protect the dikes. They are eating down the grass, they are making the ground more solid by walking on it all the time, and I find this really fascinating because it's a very natural way of maintaining landscapes, and I'm really fascinated by this because it's still such an old school way of shaping the dikes, and I find it's so cool that it's done this way, I feel. And so yeah, I really wanted to get wool from these sheep and got it spun up to basically a sport weight yarn. I think it's around 300 meters per 100 grams, and it's a really nice base. It's very hardy and rough, I would say, but still not, it's not unwearable. It's more, I think, I don't know if everyone can wear it next to their skin. I can, but I don't know if everyone can do that. But I like that it somehow captures the roughness and the hardiness of the region I'm living in. Because I live far up north and we have a lot of wind and rain and not the nicest weather here. And so I feel like this yarn really captures it, and it makes me very happy to have it in the shop for one more time until it's gone. So yeah, there will also be lots of BFM Masham in the shop update, basically in the DK weight version, but also a little bit on the 4-ply in the thinner version. This is the BFM Masham in the 4-ply. I've knitted a plume shawl out of it. It's very nice and very soft, especially compared to the limited edition. And yeah, I will have lots of that in the shop, in the DK weight especially, in lots of different colorways, most of them being inspired by the moody lights of January. You will see that this palette is very muted this time. I will have a couple of more punchy colorways, but most of them are very muted and inspired by the foggy, dark days of January and February. Yeah, so there will also be rustic merino worsted in some colorways, I think, and also a lot of in the undyed colorways, and a little bit of the thinner version of the rustic merino, which is the rustic merino sport. It's something between a sport and a light DK, 285 meters per 100 grams. And yeah, so it will be a big update, and yeah, if you've been wanting to try some of my yarn, the update will be on the 21st of February, so next Sunday, if I'm right. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what you guys will like, and I hope everyone gets everything they wanted. And yeah, that brings me to the end of this first episode. I really hope you enjoyed my rambly, little bit improvised setting, and that you will find some joy in me sharing my projects and what I've been up to. And yeah, please let me know if there is anything you like or anything I can improve on. I'm really interested in getting your feedback. Yeah, also on every kind of hardware-y things, like the quality of the sound or anything. Please let me know. Also, please let me know if there's anything you're interested in me talking about, like specific topics about yarn production, anything. I mean, I will probably make series about the yarn to sheep process, but if there's anything in particular you're interested in, please let me know, and yeah, I'm excited and I hope this brings you some joy.